right, so we have a trilogy, a trifecta, if you will, of animated movies to talk about, right? So,
Right.
unfortunately, I did not get a chance to watch Hoppers. Heard a lot of great things about Hoppers. I heard this was like a return to form for Pixar. And I didn't get a chance to watch Goat. I really enjoyed that first trailer, especially the fact that they snuck in that Skilo I Wish song, which I mean is a bona fide classic in my opinion. And also,
Yeah.
it is the post Stranger Things film from oh gosh, I'm forgetting the guy's surname, Caleb, right? Playing the voice of the lead, right? The character in that, right?
Right.
So yeah, I wanted to see what my boy was up to, right? But I didn't get a chance to watch that, right? However, I took in what would eventually be my the last film that I would see before the Oscars, right? That would be Arco. This is a French animated feature film that is nominated for Best Animated Feature, right? And I know it won't win, but I still wanted to see it because I was hearing a lot of great things about that, right? So I will start off with Arco, and then afterwards I will just shut up and you will just talk about Goat, and then you'll close things off with Hoppers. All right, so I will talk about Arco. Well, I know that you probably didn't see it, or you probably had no clue what that was about when I mentioned that title to you, right? But yeah, the reason why I wanted to see it is because it is nominated for best animated feature film, right? And
Right.
also, it was showing up on some people's best of, right? In
Right.
particular, some of the critics who work on RogerEbert.com. I always check that site out, for early reviews, if you will, right? And especially when it comes to films that I may have missed, right? But yeah, this was a show that I was hearing about, even though I knew next to nothing about it, right? So in a nutshell, it is a French animated film, right? But why I'm glad that this thing is out on digital is that the English dub is available, right? And I was hearing about McGill, Natalie Portman, Mark Ruffalo, who else? By Will Ferrell and all too. Even Andy Samberg makes a vocal appearance as well too.
Right.
But it's not really so much about the voice actors. It's really about the story and of course the animation, right? So in a nutshell, this is a science fantasy, right? You don't really see that much animated science fantasy films out there, right? But this is one, right? And it centers on the titular character, who is this 10-year-old boy who grows up in the future, right? 2922 to be exact, right? What we know just as the show begins is that him and other human beings live in the clouds, right? There are these platforms where where there are these homes that domed basically, right? There's like these large domes covering the house, right, and whatnot, right? But they're high above the clouds, right? And Arco's parents and older sister have these special suits, these rainbow colored suits, right? But it allows them to fly, right? And it's through like the refraction of light and stuff like that. So it's kind of
Right.
using rainbow physics, if you will, right? Light physics basically to help them navigate, right? But then you also learn too that they are able to use these suits to fly basically through time, right? So they could go into different time periods and explore things and come back and all that kind of stuff, right? But we learn that Arco is way too young to do that because he's not 12 yet, right? He has to be 12 in order to be given a suit to do that, right? So he steals his sister's suit and flies down to 2075, right? Where we are introduced to a girl named Iris, right? And here it's pretty much this kind of bordering on dystopian future, basically, right? There are
Right.
all these robots that pretty much running everything. So in her case, she have this nanny, if you will, right? Like a nanny but now who is helping who is taking care of the house, taking care of her baby brother Peter while the parents are out, right? And it's interesting that the parents are voiced by Natalie and Mark, and the nanny robot, is actually voiced by the both of them, right? That character
Right.
name is Mickey, right? The robot itself, right? So they do this really clever thing where you hear a male and a female voice at the same time, right? And like I was hearing more of the Natalie voice, right? Which makes sense, right? Because it's supposed to be more of a female character. But then you will hear the Mark voice coming as well too. So that was really clever, right? But yeah, to make a long story short, Arco runs into Iris, and of course they learn a lot about each other. Well, he knows that he is stuck in the past here. He's trying to get his suit back up and running, but there are these like three, like let me just say these weird alien hunters. That's the best way you could sum it up, right? That I don't want to like it's kind of like the equivalent of a ghost hunter or ghost chief, or whatever you want to call it, right? But yeah, they are just the let me just say they are the three stooges in this group, right? They're just there for laughs. Of course, two of them are voiced by well, actually, the three of them. It's Flea, it's Andy Samberg, and it's Will Ferrell. But I picked up on Will's voice right out the gate. I didn't pick up on Andy own though.
Free from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah. Like dude have a lot of time to kill and money to make though. I can't be mad at that. So much respect to you, bro. Do your thing, right? But yeah, right. So they are the goofballs in the group, right? You know, but you learn that they actually have a reason why they are tracking Arco, because like years ago they ran into somebody similar, right? But then, you know, while all this is going on now, there again, as I say, this is like a dystopian future. There's this like it's set up that there's like this environmental imbalance that's going on in this society, right? And that makes for a very compelling second half of the film, right? Where Iris is going missing. Well, actually she runs away with Arco, you know, trying to help him to get back home, and I'm not gonna spoil what happens there, right? So yeah, so just to get this out of the way, boy, I am actually glad that I saw this show, right? This would not have been in my best stuff, nor would have been in my honorable mention, but it's still a very, very, very well made animated film, right? And I love the fact that, you know, we are now, or I should say not now, but, you know, we are continually being exposed to animated features that are outside of the US, that are outside of the UK, right? You know, you've seen films like that, right? Look, last year we talked about Flow, right? And even though I was rooting for the wild robot, which is so ironic, right? Because there's a character that, well, I mentioned, Mickey, is very similar to Lupita's robot character in the wild robot as well, right? I thought that was really interesting, right? But yeah, point is, I am glad that I was able to see this show, right? It's kind of, I don't want to say it's a shame, but it's kind of interesting that I would not have known about this show if it wasn't nominated for Oscar. It's one of those, right? Like if I didn't know about it, I'd be like, sorry?
Yeah, I now see Elio and Zootopia 2 get nominated as well. Okay, I didn't even know that.
I still haven't seen Zootopia 2. I know it's great. I know you told me it's great. Elio though.
Yeah, that came and went. I mean, it's not bad, right? It's funny.
I know, you know, but it's like
it came and went. It just kind of came and went.
It's just by Pixar standards, though. It's like, But yeah, but point is, I am glad that, you know, at least we're being exposed to, you know, new voices, new faces when it comes to world cinema in the animation spectrum, if you will, right? I'm not familiar with the studios involved, nor am I familiar with the director, but I do hope to see more work from these guys, because I really thought that they knocked it out of the park, right? For one thing, I really dug the anime style of it, like just from let's say from a background perspective, right? Especially with in terms of like the detail when it comes to like grass, when it comes to trees, when it comes to rocks and stuff like that, right? Yeah, there's a very, very, very very noticeable use of detail when it comes to background, so that I thought was like very well done, right? And yeah, just the character design, the colors, just that stuff. Yeah, just the animation across the board looked very, 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 very good, right? The voice acting, well, this is the English dub that I saw, obviously, right? Yeah, I thought was well done as well, right? You know, nothing stellar or anything like that, right? But you know, the voice actors do what they have to do, you know, just in terms of the emoting of the emotions and all that kind of stuff. You know, it absolutely works, right? The story itself, though, is where I think the show shines the most, right? It feels familiar, especially when it comes to, you know, alien kid runs into human kid, and they befriend each other, and alien kid has to get back home, right? You've seen this like since what, ET, and probably long before that, right? But
Right.
how it's told here in this sort of like dystopian future thing, setting actually works for me, right? And it actually has a lot to say about memories and how we perceive time, and how change takes place, right? How time changes and all that kind of stuff, right? It finds very insightful ways of exploring that without stopping the show to tell you this is the message, right? And it never feels like there's too much that's going on in the show, right? The story is very straightforward. It's not as grandiose as you would expect it to be, but it hits the beats, it tells a story. And no lie, it got a couple of man tear moments out of me too. One of which, no lie, kind of brought me back to how I felt when I first saw Wild Robot. That's all I'll say without spoiling anything.
Right.
Yeah, boy. And without spoiling anything, just as a wrap up here, the end though was so heartfelt, though, so incredibly endearing, right? It absolutely works for me, right? So yeah, this is a show again. Like I say, I am glad that I saw. I know that not that many people may have heard of it. Heard, if I'm not mistaken, it had a limited theatrical release in the States, but I am glad that this at least was nominated in the Oscars, right? And even if it doesn't win, I do hope that more people will check it out, or at least people will continue to spread the word about it. I think that this is a really, really good film, right? Really well told, beautifully animated in my opinion, and the voice acting was great as well, right? But again, it's just the story that really drew me in, right? Just the way,
Right.
just the way how it like, again, it's not too mind blowing, right? But just how I was able to like articulate these themes, right? It's subtle in the way how they do it, but I love how it's just worked into the story, right? So again, like, the show doesn't stop to hammer home its message, right? You just sort of watch it and you pick up from it from what you can, right? And it works, right? And there's a lot to pull from it, right? But yeah, for me, I'm gonna give this a very light 4 out of 5, man. This is really good, man, and I do recommend that you check out Arco.
Right.
Again, regardless of whether it wins at the Oscars or not, I do hope that more people check it out for themselves. I do hope that the word will continue to spread, right? And hope. I'm not sure if it's out on home media right now. I'll do a search and see if it is later on. I wouldn't be surprised if this pops up in the Criterion Collection one day, right? But this is a Neon release, right? So I know Neon puts out their stuff on home media already, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if if it has already, right? But yeah, Arco is really good, man. Definitely check it out, man.
Right.
All right, so with my Arco review out of the way, Ricardo, the floor is yours. Like I said at the very beginning, I didn't get a chance to watch Hoppers, didn't get a chance to watch Goat, but I heard some really great things about both films, especially Hoppers, right? But yeah, Ricardo, take it away. Start off with Goat, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Goto is not bad. So it's produced by Steph Curry. Um, it does the Spider-Verse kind of animation thing, and it does a really simple like take on the material of goat. And yeah, so the story is that this kid who's a goat. And well, it playing with the whole pun, right? Greatest all time, but he's actual goat, so they're playing with that whole idea, but they're applying to basketball. And well, one, the animation is great. Like I'm a big sucker for this, for that kind of, kind of low, okay, what do you call it?
Low frame rate, you
Low frame
mean?
rate,
Right.
low
Okay.
frame rate,
Okay.
right? Yeah, low frame rate style, and that whole Spider Verse. But remember Jessica Williams? I think did a thing with a kind of romance rom com kind of thing, a kind of black rom com. And I don't mind seeing more material doing that stuff. It's always look cool, and in this it looked great, and it was great in application to the basketball scenes. The story itself is not like it's pretty standard. Like it just relies on the whole goat bit. I have a couple of cool characters. I like some of the voice actors they get for it. It's like, yeah, it's solid stuff, but it's a standard like storytelling thing. But because the animation style really sells it, and I dig in that. And then the main conceit of the characters, it mostly works. It's just a character who coming up and he's a goat, and the world building is very slightly a shallower version of Zootopia. In terms of the world, because it's like it have predators and bigger animals who could it's like a class system in that sense. So the bigger animals or the more athletic animals, quote unquote, is the ones who could play basketball, and then the goat who's like this, like a prey animal effectively, or kind of well, what do you call it, herbivore, can't really do basketball or whatever it is, and he have hooves. So that's the whole thing. But he practicing and he tried to get up and come up, and they make it, and that's it. And it's clearly like loosely based on Steph Curry's aesthetic and approach and thing. When he produces it, it's like, yeah, kind of like him, right? It's basically a Steph Curry animated movie, but in the context of this goat stuff. And yeah, for it, I think it mostly works. I didn't love it. Love it, but it's like, yeah, I enjoyed it mostly because of the animation style, and I dug it for that. And yeah, it's nice about it. I have nothing much to say other than that.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, the obvious question is like the basketball sequences, right? Like were they entertaining? Were they like very stylized? Like I don't know. Like I'm just thinking Space Jam for some weird reason.
Yeah. No, that there's the part of it that it's that's why it works. They have great like angles and stuff moving around again, like Spider-Verse. How Spider-Verse is be bouncing around the place like that. Yeah, they it totally apply well to basketball. And I suppose I see the simple logic. And once Steph Curry put himself there, with the money, it make it work. And yeah, that's why this it's standard. It works. Again, it's his style. It's not super deep, but it's just solid outing, good voice acting, good arcs for most of the characters, and straightforward. And I enjoy it. Rating, yeah, I get like a 7 out of 10. I dug this. Okay, on roll mention for the end of the year, I think.
All right, and I do hope to see it when it comes out on digital. My hope is that I do stick on it. I don't wait too long, and then like by years, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't watch Goat, right? Yeah. So speaking of that, now, yeah, you could close things off with Hoppers. Again,
Sure.
heard a lot of great things about this. I heard this was like one of I want to say one of Pixar's best films, but I also want to see like a return to form.
I ain't going that far.
Yeah, take it
I ain't
away.
going that far. But it was a solid outing, and it was way better than expected. I went in thinking it was going to be like kind of boring. I remember even to the point of criticizing, I was saying it looks like AI, not realizing, oh yeah, AI just rip off Pixar aesthetic. And that standardized Pixar aesthetic. But like, it's not even that, right? But it felt like really boring and standard from the trailer. And I was like, not feeling it. I was like, all right, they're doing this and this. But then they make it really weird and interesting. And it's really strange conceit. So basically, it's kind of like the Avatar thing, but for animals. But
Right,
also like
right.
the animals play with the conceit of violence. And that's why it works. Because it's like, it don't mix matters about violence in the conceit of animals. Like there's a certain character that will crack you up, like why, but they actually do that.
I heard about that.
But it's
It was kind of like a weird criticism, like, oh, what would kids think that an
right.
animal died
It's a,
in a
yeah,
movie
it's a lot.
in a
That's
Pixar movie? Like, okay,
yeah, it's a lot darker than expected in
all
that
right,
sense. It's
okay,
like, oh shit, they're doing this too. But I went into this thinking, Pixar kind of falling off a little bit, blah blah blah. Nah, this was pretty good. I don't know about a return to form, but it was just really solid out and really funny, great voice acting. They kept the energy. What make it work is the energy. Like they just great jokes and they have everything bouncing and moving fast, especially the animal stuff. And yeah, the main character I really like her. And they do the avatar thing by having your mind up, upload into an animal body, and then they have to meet amongst them, and then they whole fighting back against the system. But they can't really do anything about it against humans, and they make it work. And it's genuinely charming for what it is, and really good stuff. I didn't think I would have enjoyed it as much. It's a genuine surprise because again I went into pretty low expectations. So yeah, I strongly recommend this as well. I give this a 8 out of 10. Genuinely funny, really well done.
all right. But will this be an honorable mention as well, or like a
Probably
best of?
the other done because I went in again mostly because of the low expectation. I'll probably give it a second watch when I get a chance and be like, all right, I could nitpick here or there or whatever it is, right? But for the most part, I think as it is, I really enjoyed it. Solid like the writing. I think the jokes like they keep pumping out jokes and the pacing is wide. The high octane nature of the jokes is why it worked. Now. It didn't feel slow at all. Like it just was keep going now. And it takes some real good interesting turns now. So it's like yeah, they kind of cook here. But I don't know if it's I can't good conscience say it's Pixar real return to form because it's still a feel on that level of greatness. But again, because we're so accustomed and acclimated to that level, that yeah, to come good now. So I don't know. So until when Toy Story 5 come out, right? So
Oh yeah, which is like what, just like a few months away, right? Yeah.
right.